Greetings, it is January 18th, 2022, and it's now 7 o'clock, and we will bring the City Council meeting to order. Janet, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz?
Present.
Councilmember Juan?
Here.
Your hand raised. Councilmember Wolf?
I am here.
Vice Mayor Tillman?
Here.
Mayor Cloven?
And I am here as well. Janet, if you can roll item number 2, the meeting protocol video, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar pursuant to the provisions of the AB 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is also being webcast on the City of Clayton's website. The mayor will call upon its council presenters, staff, and other speakers by name and ask that they speak clearly and state their names before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via webcast and Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members of the public participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. Telephone attendees will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their name, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received by the Clayton City Clerk by 5 p.m. today will be entered into the record but will not be read out loud. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they are free to do so and should raise their hand and the mayor will call upon them at the appropriate time. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. The chat feature is not active. In order to get the full Zoom experience, please make sure your application is up to date.
Thank you, Janet. And Jim, if you would do us the honor of doing the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be wonderful.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim. Much appreciated. Time to go on to item 4, the consent calendar. And is there any items of discussion that we'd like to have pulled from the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Second.
Do we need a public comment prior to a vote? And if that's the case, then we will open this up to public comment for any members of the public who'd like to discuss any item that's on the consent calendar. Now is your time, and you get 3 minutes. Janet, do we have any hands?
I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Awesome.
One actually just went up. Roy, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
So Roy, as it comes in.
I am not sure what is going on right now. I am trying to promote Roy to panelist, but it's not moving, so I'll try the
Roy, I just want to confirm real quickly. There he is. Just want to confirm, Roy, that this is a conversation about something is on the consent calendar. If this is another item other than that, there is another public comment period after city reports on item number 7. So if it is about the consent calendar, Roy, you've got 3 minutes. Go for it.
No, it's nothing. Can you hear me?
I can. So if you don't mind, I'll call you again when we get back to item number 7 on the consent calendar.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Appreciate it. If there are no other hands, Janet?
I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
Wonderful. Then we'll close the public comment at this time about the consent calendar. I believe we had a motion by Councilmember Diaz. Was there a second?
I second.
Awesome. Seconded by Juan. Janet, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz?
Yes.
Councilmember Juan?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Aye.
Mayor Cloven.
Yes. With that, item number 4 is closed. We move on to item number 5. And this is actually one of my favorite items every month or when we get a chance to do this. Recognitions and presentations. And tonight we get to hand out certificates of recognition to the public schools with students exemplifying do the right thing character trait of kindness. And if you've listened to me over the last couple meetings, I've talked about kindness specifically in my council report and how we need to be more kind to each other. So this is a very appropriate evening. And I have really enjoyed serving on this committee with Councilmember Wolf last year when he was mayor and I was vice mayor. So with that, I love his energy and his relationship with our principals. Councilmember Wolf, will you take on the rest of this presentation, please?
Well, yes, I will. Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Cloven. And let's see, who do we have? Let's go to Mount Diablo Elementary first. Do we have Principal Sanchez here? There she is. We are on mute.
I'm on mute.
There you go.
We do, and we actually have both teachers. Hi, Cooper and AJ. We actually have both teachers. It would be Catherine Erickson and Melissa Fail have joined us this evening to share their messages.
Okay, great. So who is going to go first? Shall we have Ms. Fail go first then?
Sounds great. She popped up first.
There she is. Hello, Ms.
Sorry,
Fail.
Hi.
All right, take it away. Tell us about your student and your student kindness winner.
Okay, so my student who is getting recognized for kindness is in my 5th grade combo class. And I nominated AJ, and AJ was nominated by me for the Kindness Award since he is one of the kindest kids that I have had in my last 24 years of teaching. Not only is he incredibly kind to adults and children alike, but he's also courteous to his classmates and is an upstander outside at recess time to those that need a buddy and need someone to kind of help them. AJ obviously thinks about his actions and his words before enacting on them. He is someone that I can count on to be kind to anyone that comes in the room. He also is a great partner when it comes to all the partner work that we do. And whether it's a 5th grader or a 4th grader that he's working with, he's always using his kind words. Let's see, he's always has a really good attitude when it comes to school. And when he comes in, he's got a smile on his face, he's ready to learn, and he's always participating in everything we do in class. I thank you, AJ, for all your kind behaviors always and all your words of encouragement to each child in the classroom and always asking me if I'm having a good day also. We need more kids like you, AJ, and I really, really appreciate you.
Hey, congratulations, AJ. I see you are very kind because somebody keeps popping into your screen. Who is that? You're on mute.
Unmute, AJ.
There.
That's
There you
my
are.
sister,
That's your sister
my brother.
and your brother, and you love them very much, and you're very kind to them all the time, right? You're not only kind, but you're honest too. And I want to congratulate you. I know we all on the council congratulate you for being one of the kindest students at Mount Diablo Elementary. I know Ms. Fail, that she said, is very, very proud of you. And I know Ms. Sanchez, who's shaking her head, yes, also agrees. So congratulations to you and to your brother and sister. Be kind to AJ. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
AJ.
Well done.
We'll get you your certificate. Fantastic. And Ms. Erickson now, I think, has someone that she wants to introduce us to.
I do. I'm so excited to introduce you to Cooper Calabio. He is
What's that name? Cooper Calabio.
Is it
Sounds like a
the
news
first
person.
day?
It's like, and now to Cooper Calabio for the report.
The first day of school, I told him I thought that was a baseball player name.
Oh, that's true. That could be. Very good.
It's a great name to announce. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I chose him, because I just wanted to say his name. But I also chose him because he is a very kind young man. And when I announced to the class today morning meeting, I said, we're going to have this ceremony, and I chose Cooper. And Cooper responded, he said, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And that kind of summed up why I chose Cooper, because he is a very kind young man. He's just such a sweet, all around nice kid. And he does it not expecting anything in return. He's just quietly kind to everyone around him. He's just doing the right thing, not expecting any recognition, not expecting any awards. And he's just nice just because that's who he is. And he's just is friendly to everyone he meets. And I just thought, that deserves some recognition. The kind of, quiet kid that's just nice because that's who they are. And I thought, gosh darn it, Cooper, you deserve an award, even if you don't expect it.
Fantastic. And Cooper, yes, you do have a fantastic smile, so I could see why people like you so much. Okay, you're on mute right now. Cooper, what grade are you in?
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, what grade are you in?
Oh, I am in 5th.
You're in 5th grade. Terrific. So you've been kind for the last 5 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you intend to be kind for the next 5?
Yes.
Good. Then we're all going to come hang out with you. So thank you very much. Well, congratulations to you. You got a great smile. Thank you for being so kind. And thank you, Ms. Erickson, and both teachers today from Mount Diablo Elementary, and Ms. Sanchez, you got to be very proud. So we thank you very much. And Cooper, I know you don't like recognitions, but we're going to get you a certificate anyway.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Congratulations. We appreciate it. And now we'll go on to Diablo View Middle School. I believe Mr. Fong is here today. I see Raina shaking her head yes. We have 2 8th graders, I understand, from Diablo View Middle School today. Oh, there's Mr. Fong. Happy New Year, Mr. Fong. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
All right.
What do we got today?
Well, I should have a Mr. Finian Duggan and a Mr. Dylan Gettrost. I don't know. I don't see them on my screen.
I see Finian.
Oh, there you go. I had to put it in grid mode. Hi, Finn. All right. And then do we have Dylan somewhere in the waiting room? No. All right.
Perhaps if Dylan is signed on to account with a different last name, whoever that is could raise their hand. I do not see the last name, his last name.
Okay, that's okay. All right, so I will start with Finn. So Finn is just a really kind kid. He's super friendly, always greets everybody. And that includes the adults. A lot of kids in middle school, they'll go, they'll avoid the principal in the hallway, but Finn actually will go out of his way to say hi and greet me and ask me how I'm doing and whatever else. And he does this for all of, just kids that are walking by, all the other adults. So he brightens everybody's day. One of his teachers, Ms. Cherry, said, he is one of the kindest students I have ever taught, hands down. And I think she's been teaching for almost 20 years. So that is saying something. But, he's just the kind of kid that if he saw that you needed help and you were just out on the grounds, he'd be one of the first people to come and help you out. He's just very considerate, doesn't think of himself first. He thinks of others. So we would like to recognize Finian Duggan for the trait of kindness.
Here, Finn. That away. Oh, wait a minute. That's a strain. How did you get your hand to do that? Who is that? Who's that hanging out with you?
That's my mom.
Put her on screen. Oh, you got to be very proud, Mom. You got to be very proud of Finn. Is that right?
We have the whole family in the kitchen. We're all very proud of him. Thank you, Mr. Fong. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, Finn, thanks a lot for being as kind as you are, and I know you've been kind for your entire school career, and you'll be kind throughout your entire high school career too, I know. So thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say to us?
Thank you.
There you go. See, Mr. Fong, you're right. He talks to adults very well. So thank you.
He does. He's a great guy.
Hey, Finn, congratulations. We'll get your certificate to you, and thank you so much, and Happy New Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Principal Fong. And I will turn this back over now to Mayor Cloven.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Councilmember Wolf. That is, again, it's just a delight to be able to, again, emphasize and appreciate the traits of our Do the Right Thing program. And it's fabulous to have this partnership and relationship with our principals and to meet their students and to show what we're actually doing and how we're being in Clayton. So thank you.
By the way, sorry to interrupt you. I know that Dylan didn't make it today, but we'll make sure that he gets his certificate as well.
Absolutely, Dylan. Congratulations. Excellent. And with that, we'll close item number 5. We'll go to item number 6, and we'll start off with 6A. We get to go to Raina. Will you give us a city manager report first?
Great. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Not much to report that isn't on the agenda as a specific item. Just a reminder that our City Hall remains closed to the public except by appointment. We're struggling with staffing, as are most of the cities in the county. And we appreciate everyone's patience. We are available, phone, email, etc. And we're working to make sure that if folks need to meet, that we can accommodate that as well. But we're hoping to get some updated information toward the end of the week from the county health officer, and maybe a sense of when we might start to see some improvement in our numbers that might allow us to get this a bit more under control and be open to the public and eventually go back to more in-person activities. So that is the unfortunate update that I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Raina. I appreciate that. We'll go on to item 6B, which is city council reports. And just a reminder, as much as you're able to, when you've been at an outside event, try to bring it back to Clayton and help our citizens understand how it is that what you're learning is relevant to them. So if we can start off, Councilmember One, you can go first, please.
Yeah, I don't have a report this week. Thanks, though.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Jeff. Councilmember Diaz, you are up next.
Very light week or 2 weeks between the last city council meeting. The only thing I have to report is spent a very quiet day of observation and reflect for Dr. King's Day, Martin Luther King. But later that evening, yesterday, we had another meeting of the 22 Clayton Annual Barbecue Committee, which is progressing very well. For those of you that may not have it on your calendar, the barbecue will be expanded to 2.5 days, Friday the 8th, 9th, and 10th of July. Competitive professional barbecuers on Saturday, and then what we call the backyard or the amateur barbecue pairers will be on Sunday. Today spent time with the city manager and the chief of police to discuss some of the things that were on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. And we'll go next to Councilmember Wolf, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, I had a couple of meetings with our mayor, and I also met with our city manager, and I also met with our community development director, had a very great conversation with her. Not that I didn't have a great conversation with the other two. I was able to sit in on the mayor's conference, which is always good. It's odd to not be on the panel, but still worth sitting in on and listening to everybody and seeing all the new faces there. It's pretty amazing. And then let's see, I had a couple of emails to answer, a couple of phone calls, and looks like I celebrated my anniversary, and that's about it. So thank you, Mayor.
Happy belated anniversary.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Tillman, you are up next.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor. I had a few meetings. I also attended the mayor's conference. I'll let you give the update on that, but I'll just give a brief synopsis that I enjoyed the presentation once they work out the kinks on the technology on Rosie the Riveter in the museum that's in Richmond. And I also was appointed. I told you last time that I was asked to run for the Community Services Policy Committee, and I was actually appointed, and I was able to sit in last week for their orientation, and so that everybody on the line understands what that is. They're responsible for the cultural arts. It's a one-year commitment that will end in September when we finish our annual conference for Cal Cities. But we're responsible for Parks and Rec, Human Services, Libraries, Cultural Arts, Child Care, and the aging communities. And I will have my first meeting with them on February 10th. This was just an orientation for all of the policy committees, but we'll actually dive deeper into the bills that we want to present as a state to our assembly people and the Senate up in Sacramento. So if anyone has anything that they'd like me to share for our February 10th meeting, please go ahead and email it to me. Again, the actual issues that we touch upon are Parks and Rec, Human Services, Libraries. My camera's going out. Sorry, can you guys see me?
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening.
You're back.
Parks and Rec, Human Services, Libraries, Cultural Arts, Child Care, and Aging Communities. So if anybody has any items that they'd like me to convey to the rest of the policy committee, I'm happy to do that throughout the year. We'll have 3 meetings, one in February, one in April, and then I think the other one is at the end of June, and then the annual meetings in September. In addition to that, I sat in on the Young Dems of Contra Costa County had an invitation from Ben Terrio, who is running against David Livingston for the sheriff of the county. And I wanted to listen in to hear what he was telling that particular group, because he had requested to have a conversation with me personally. He's trying to meet everybody that's in the county that's sitting on city councils. Some of you guys might have also received the invitation, but I had that call with him today just to ask further questions on what he was explaining to them to understand what his policies were. It was an interesting conversation. So I would encourage all of you guys to listen in. I had also received an invitation to attend David Livingston's fundraiser, but wasn't able to attend that. So just so everybody's aware that I'm invited to all of these things, and I try to attend the ones that I can. I also had conversations with our city manager, as well as with the mayor. And I did have a conversation with someone at the bocce courts during bocce who was requesting that the council think about, in terms of public safety, putting a light on Marsh Creek Road, where that crosswalk is near the clock and by the park, because it's a danger for people who are trying to cross. And so he asked me to convey that to all of you in case he does not dial in during public comment tonight. I've also been in conversations to set up the Trails and Landscape Committee meetings, and have been in conversations with the city manager to help get those set up on the calendar so that we can get that up and rolling. And that's my report.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Tillman. It was surprisingly busy actually this past couple weeks. I had a TransPAC meeting on January 6th at 9 a.m. Again, it's a good group of people to talk to, my peers, and who focus on Contra Costa County transportation issues. I enjoyed my first meeting on the mayor's conference, being on the panel. For those of you who have young children, young girls, the Rosie Riveter thing was fabulous, and I can tell you firsthand that my wife has taken her Girl Scout troop there, and they all enjoyed it very much. It's quite an inspirational experience, especially for our young women. And if you're thinking about an outing, I would encourage you to go visit it and see what it's all about. On that Saturday morning at the 8th, I was part of the group of volunteers who came out in the morning and helped take down the Christmas decorations. It was great seeing Councilmember Diaz out there as well. Coffee and donuts and good fellowship, and getting our town down from the holidays. Look forward to do it again sometime in December. I had a meeting as requested by our city council, which I'll talk about later on item 9E, with our city manager, and we'll talk about that later. I did have a great lunch with the former mayor of Concord and now council member Tim McGallion. He and I talked about some of the commonalities between Concord and Clayton, and how we can assist each other in communication. And it was great to talk with somebody with his experience and learn some of the things that he's learned over his 2 years as mayor of Concord. I did want to say I had another very interesting and good conversation with our BART district representative, Deborah Allen. She's currently running for county supervisor, but one of the things that she made me aware of, just so that we're all aware of it, BART, just like the county supervisors recently, has decided to go through a redistricting process. And the first 2 district maps were apparently written by consultants, which kept Clayton in the central Contra Costa County district. Subsequent to that, there was some public comment and a 3rd map was put together, which transfers Clayton into the East County BART district with Brentwood, Antioch, Pittsburgh, and Oakley. Now, I am not aware of any of our citizens who go to use those particular BART stations on a regular basis. I think most of us go to the Central Contra Costa County BART stations, not the East County. So it makes personally no sense why we would want to be transferred or gerrymandered or redistricted into East County, because we're not. The county clearly redistricted recently, and we're still in Central Contra Costa County. I'm part of Transpac, which is Central Contra Costa County. So I wanted to make my fellow council members aware of this 3rd map, which moves us into a district which would provide us little representation, in my personal opinion. But we'll talk about that later, or maybe bring it up at a future meeting. I've had some great conversations with our city manager and community development director about our efforts to get the word out regarding the housing element. And we throw in other things like ARPAs as well, and other things we need to do later on in the year. Now, I want to first of all commend our city staff and our consultant MIG for doing everything that they knew to do in their power relative to printed media, social media, and otherwise to get the words out regarding the previous surveys. We've got to do some more to get the word out so people are aware of what's happening. And we had some ideas and brainstormed, and we'll continue to have those and to get the word out very quickly. And I appreciate their openness to that conversation and their desire to make that happen. And lastly, I'm aware that many of you in our city received a letter in the mail today. It was unsigned, anonymous letter, poorly written political piece hit that questions our city council's decision back in late 2021 related to a planning commission. Now, as a mayor, I'm going to stand by our principles of do the right thing. I spoke twice in 2 previous meetings about being kind to each other. And it's very appropriate tonight that we got a chance to honor kindness in our school system as we rewarded our rewards to our citizens. This political hit piece was not kind. It was not appropriate. Now, I get it. It's an election year in 2022, and it's clear that these type of unkind political hit pieces are sure to follow, because that's the nature of some people's thoughts process. But I want to look at you straight in the eye. If you have any questions specific about the letter's content, and you want to ask me a specific question about my decision, my telephone number is 925-673-7320. I am open to talk to you directly anytime you want. Anytime you want. Call me. And that's the end of my report and the closing of section 6. We're going to move on to section 7, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Now, I've said this before. We're going to stand by who we are as a community. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to treat each other with kindness and respect. This is your opportunity to address the city council for 3 minutes. I specifically ask that you address the whole council, not one specific council member. If you do happen to address one specific council member, do so with kindness and respect and give your point of view. Please, no foul language. This is who we are, and this is who we're demonstrating to our children who also watch these. And with that, Janet, do we have any raised hands?
We do. Our first hand is Deborah. Deborah, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
I see you, but I can't hear you, Deborah, yet.
How about now? How's that?
Much better. You're on.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Mayor Cloven, thank you for those nice words about doing the right thing and being kind to one another. It is important in this arena. I come here tonight just to follow up on the comments that you made, just so that you all can hear this from me. There is a redistricting underway. As the mayor mentioned, there is a proposed third map that has come recently that will redistrict Clayton and the unincorporated areas out on Marsh Creek and Morgan Territory to join the East County district. And I think that you might agree. I believe it's not a good idea, and for the reasons the mayor stated, people of Clayton generally do not go to Antioch or even North Concord to use BART. They typically will go to Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, or downtown Concord. The redistricting process is moving quite quickly. And they are in the process. I am not on that committee. The committee is made up of 3 other board members. And just so you know, they are on next Saturday at 6 p.m. They will be having a Zoom meeting for public outreach on this topic. And then the final meeting will be Wednesday, February 2nd at 6 p.m. Once those public meetings are done, that 3-member committee will reconvene and recommend a map to the full board. We may see a full board meeting discussion. We might see 1 and a vote. We might see 2 and a vote. I'm really unsure what the process will be. So I recommend that if you all, any of you or your citizens of Clayton are interested in this topic, that you try to make one of these next 2 meetings, or that you reach out to some of the BART directors that are on that committee. That would include Latifah Simon, and I believe Mark Foley in District 2. Mark Foley represents the Antioch and East County area. I believe that both of them are on this committee, and let's have conversation. There is a tool online. I can actually forward that to all of you, the council members and staff. There's a tool that you can go on to the website and see the current district, the proposed 3 different scenarios of the new districts. And you can actually, in that tool, play around with writing your own district. So just came to give you that information. Thank you all for what you do, all of you, staff and council members, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Deborah. Really appreciate that.
Can we get the information, Peter, about the meeting?
I will make sure. I just checked it out today. It's on their webpage. If you look at BART redistricting, but Raina, could you send a link out to everybody?
I certainly can.
And there is an interactive map, which I'll make sure Raina sends out as well, which you can look at the 2 districts which were proposed by a consultant, and the 3rd most recent district, which apparently was public opinion, I understand, which created that, but you can look at those as well.
Thanks.
There you go. Janet, do we have any other hands raised for public comment?
At this time, I do not have any other hands raised. Oh, 1 hand just went up.
Awesome. I think Roy just came in, so glad he's back.
Roy, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Welcome back, Roy.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, my comments are about looking back. Looking back at the FY 2021 Town Council, the town's leadership, the mayor and vice mayor, and the standing council members as a whole. Specifically, in looking back, the explicit incivility witnessed at the FY 21 council meetings, from breaking of political norms, the transition of mayorship from vice mayor to mayor, to the ongoing vitriol, hostile personal attacks of council members, community individuals. And this activity, incivility throughout FY 21 was routinely displayed by some in our community, and not a peep, condoned, accepted by council leadership, council members. And this incivility is affecting town smooth governance, community relations. And for the council leadership, the council altogether, to not call out this incivility is unacceptable. Imagine a parent engaging their son or daughter to learn about community civics, town councils, and how business is conducted in town meetings in Clayton. What would they learn about civility, town team playing, language usage, adult behavior? I tell you, look at the sign posted as you drive into Clayton. The messaging is entering the downtown. What does it say? It says self-discipline. It's the right thing to do. Above this, it reads, do the right thing. I ask, what are your individual precepts and norms for civility? What are your precepts and norms for civility for our Clayton community and our families? Actions, words speak loud. Are you doing the right thing? Thank you.
Roy, thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's well taken. Thank you. Janet, do you have any other hands that are raised for public comment at this time?
I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
Thanks, Janet. Appreciate that. And with that, we'll close item number 7, public comment, and move on to item number 8, which is public hearings, for which we have none. And then move on to item number 9, action items. And we have a few tonight. So we're going to start off with item number 9A, which is adopt resolution adopting the purchasing guidelines for policy for the purchase of goods, services, supplies, and equipment. And Raina, why don't you take that from here?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to bring you this evening a recommendation on an updated purchasing policy. When in November and December, the Council was brought a recommendation on the purchasing practices, guidelines, et cetera, related to public projects. And the Council took action to opt into the state's Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act and updated all of our public works purchasing processes at that time. Other than that, and one other change to allow the ability for the city to what's called piggyback or use the competitively bid contract from another entity, our purchasing policy had not been updated since 2004, other than those 2 changes that were made, one in 2020, one in 2021. So it was something that I intended when we dealt with the public works purchasing to bring back the balance of the purchasing policy, and that's what's before the Council this evening. So there are a few goals with respect to bringing back this purchasing policy. One is to streamline the policy and to streamline purchasing activities. 2 is to align levels as much as we can of purchasing responsibilities and authorities. And then third, to balance efficiency, value for the city, and internal controls. So those kind of three pieces of the puzzle for purchasing need to be balanced in order to have an effective, efficient, and smoothly running system. So there are really a couple of major changes in what is contained in the policy before you this evening. The first is that a lot of the administrative detail that was in the prior policy, very specifics about, the invoice has to have this information and that information, and specific steps of the internal signature requirements at the supervisor, department head, et cetera level. A lot of that administrative detail has been pulled out of the council adopted policy, or what will be a council adopted policy, and will be part of an administrative procedure that will be drafted once the policy is set, to flow from the policy and establish all of those internal controls, all of our internal norms, and all of those signature requirements. That way, they can be updated quickly as needed and handled as an operational matter. The second major change is a recommended update to the overall purchasing or contracting authority under the city manager's signature that's allowed under the purchasing policy. Under the old purchasing policy, or the one that's currently in place now, that amount is $20,000, and that amount has not changed since 2004 when the policy was originally put in place. The recommendation before you this evening would align that signature authority, that contracting authority, with the $60,000 that was adopted as part of the Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act for public works purchases, and would bring the other types of purchasing in line with that public works authority that has been put in place. The reason for that, and I want to emphasize a couple of things. One is that these are for things that are included in the city's budget. They already have council approved funding, and we're really talking about how the purchasing gets made and who has to see the contract before the contract can get signed, whether it's a purchase order or an actual professional services agreement or whatever. So this doesn't create new money, doesn't create free money to spend between $20,000 and $60,000 that wasn't there before. This is still council approved funding authority. But what it allows is a more streamlined process to put those contracts in place. And I'd like to give you two examples that I think really speak to the need to increase that amount and provide for that additional streamlining. The first is, several months ago, our maintenance supervisor brought to me a proposal to purchase wood chips that we were going to put down in our median. So helps control weeds, et cetera. And it was going to be $40,000 or $50,000. And so I went through the whole process with him about everything we were going to have to do and what he needed to do that purchasing, and then taking it to the council, et cetera. And frankly, he looked at me and said, that's an incredible amount of work. And, sort of like, well, let me see what else, let me figure out what I can do. And we ended up with some chips that we've had some staff putting down, but that's not the most efficient way to do it. And it's an example of something that is a bit of an administrative burden for us. The second, it's a similar issue. The single vehicle accident we had on Marsh Creek Road that took out a pole and some police cameras. Those police cameras are in excess of that $20,000. This is something that we have third-party reimbursement for. We know we're going to move forward with that, but what is the purchasing policy? What is the signature authority on that contract? And so those are the types of things that are really intended to be addressed with this adjustment recommended to the purchasing guidelines. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, and would respectfully request consideration of the recommendation to update our purchasing policy.
I'll just start off the first question, Raina, just to confirm that you couldn't decide to go remodel the city hall floor with new furniture and decorations with this authority, right? This is something.
I don't have funding for that. So if I had funding for it, if you had said, yes, we're going to put that funding in the budget, I would have it, just like the wood chips. But no, I can't remodel City Hall with it.
Just want to give you a hypothetical. Thank you. Go ahead, Jim. Councilmember Diaz.
I support the updating of this policy, and in particular, the item that the city manager mentioned in relationship to that demolished pole and the camera system that is affixed or was affixed to it. That is a very critical public safety issue, and we need to move forward on it and give the city manager the appropriate authority to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Diaz. Councilmember One.
Would the distinction between what is included in the budget or not, I think, is meaningful here. Would an item like the police camera be considered, if we were operating under the proposed policy, would that be considered to be included in the budget?
So that replacement, ultimately, we would have to get appropriation authority to accept the reimbursement. So it's funded within the budget. We do have to accept that reimbursement from the insurance agency or the third party recovery that we were able to do. But that is a portion of what would be accomplished through this update of the purchasing policy, but not entirely.
Okay, so maybe that's not a great example if it's kind of a...
The wood chips is a perfect example, though.
Okay, so would the wood chips be considered included in the budget already?
Yes.
Under what line item would that be?
In the landscape maintenance district, we have maintenance and operations for medians. And so whether it's the variety of ways to handle that. And so it would be handled in that landscape maintenance district budget.
Okay. And I guess that's kind of where I was going. When we talk about if it's already included in the budget, I feel like that's fairly broad generally, because we don't budget at a specific purchase item level. We budget at category levels, right? Generally, I mean, I think that's how most places, organizations will do their budgets, and then the spend will fit underneath. And so I guess my concern would be that included in the budget is essentially a fairly large pot, depending on what types of activities we're talking about. And we could construe spend to fit in a variety of categories should the need arise. Would you say that's available as an option if we're talking about spending strategy?
There is a reasonable amount of specificity by fund. Some funds can be used for general things like the general fund, and some are more restricted by department. So typically we say, we budget by department, and then we budget between salaries and services and supplies. So now we've, sort of narrowed down, it's not all funds, it's not salaries, it's, things that we anticipated would be purchased for operation of a department or program. And so I do think there's a fair amount of specificity there. Is it granular down to, we said we were going to buy wood chips, we can only buy wood chips? No, it's not. But that's the operational piece that I think we have sometimes lacked the flexibility to deal with on in a more easily responsive manner.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's all my questions.
Thank you.
Any other council member have a question?
No, it would just be redundant. So thank you.
Excellent. And with that, we will open it up to public comment for item 9A. Janet, are there any hands that are raised on this particular item?
I do not have any hands raised on this item.
All righto. And with that, we'll close public comment and go back to the council.
Move approval, Jim Diaz, item 9A.
I'll second that.
Well, I have a comment here I'd like to make on that, but barring or pending the vote here, I guess for me, things like that have occurred over the past in recency, I guess. Are areas where we spent under the discretion of the city manager's spending authority. Things like the consultants that we engaged in, where they were within the spending authority that had previously been established, so they were consistent with our policies. But I think if we were to increase the spending limit here for just more broadly, then my concern is that we will engage in more activity that would be in line with engaging other consultants in spend that I think is that we shouldn't be engaging in. And so, if there were a way to extract things of that nature, professional services for consulting, and if we stick to services, supplies, repairs, maintenance, all the other, housekeeping type items, rather than engaging in outside services, then I'd be supportive. But I can't support increasing the spending authority for consultant spend. I don't think that's a good use of funds. So that would be my suggestion if we can carve that out. But I don't know if anyone else shares those concerns.
It's a valid concern for the amount that would be spent on consultants, but I would not want to limit the city manager being able to hire consultants, which is what I shared previously. I think that her use of using the consultants in the past and the way that she has been a benefit to the city and to us as well as a staff to kind of move us forward to where we are right now. So I don't want to limit her in being able to do that in the future if she needs to, but I see your concern with having carte blanche and that amount to be able to spend up to that amount on it. And it's probably naive to say, but I fully trust that Raina would not do that. I know that she would do it to the best of her benefit. So if you're saying maybe give her a limit to where she can use for consulting services and then the rest can go up to 60, I'd be fine with that. But saying that she can't use it at all for consultant services, I would not be on board with.
Well, I think the existing policy, consultant spend or outside service spend, is included within the current threshold. So there is currently a threshold for that as well. And there isn't really a distinction between the categories of spend outside of I forget what we called it, the uniform, whatever the uniform thing was that we talked about earlier that we approved last year for construction type public works. That's right. And so that was the first time I think that we carved out a category of spend to increase the limit. And so it's not a novel thing for us to consider at this point. But yeah, I guess I disagree generally with the use of consultants in the way that we have, but I think reasonable people can disagree there. But I do think, when we're talking about an engagement, a $20,000 engagement with an outside consultant is, I don't know, at a conservative billing rate of what, $300 an hour, give or take, right? That's, 60 hours, a week and a half of work, which, is a relatively small engagement, I would say. And so I think, when we talk about those types of things, the two that we've done before, I think they were in the neighborhood of $5,000 and $10,000 versus like the MIG engagement and I guess MIG was engaged for two separate things. So that was a larger spend, and I think we approved those, and that went over pretty smoothly because we also, the engagement for the ARPA stuff too. Those are pretty straightforward, I think. And, there's a distinct thing there. The other ones, like I said, reasonable people can disagree, but even if we were to leave the amount alone for consultant spend, I still think that gives latitude to act at discretion. Now, I guess I would also the auditor in me always says, you should never lead the statement with "I trust," because that's never. I always tell people don't do that. And then and it's also beyond, we're not talking about Raina specifically, so I'm not trying to besmirch Raina in any way. We're talking about the authority of the position and, for all who come thereafter. So, with that regard, I just think being more conservative, there have been very few cases, if any, I would say, where the need to engage consultant spend could not wait for council approval because it's not something that's so rapid. And I just don't think there have ever been instances where that has happened. If there has, then I've missed it. But I understand the public works, that makes sense. The maintenance, those other types of things where we need to repair things, all seems like very straightforward. It's just the other one I have a challenge with. So, and this is no different than I shared with Raina earlier.
I'm shocked. No, I'm not shocked. On the second page of the purchasing policy exhibit under purchasing authority, it identifies two spending levels under 60,000 and above 60,000. We do distinguish throughout the policy then about different types or categories of purchasing. So if the council desired to pull out professional services agreements, and those we typically know what those are, for a separate contracting authority that resides with the city manager, separate from that which requires council approval directly of the contract. There's a logical place for that. And so just so if you all, are looking at it, that's it's a relatively easy change to make if that's the council's desire under that purchasing authority section. And everything else would remain the same, speaking to the when you get an informal process versus a more formal process, which steps through the dollar amounts, which would remain the same, regardless of whether the signature or contracting authority, as I would describe it, where that's distinguished in that purchasing authority section.
That would be my preference and request. So,
and what's the requested figure?
I think leaving it in the same amount, leaving it untouched, is fine. If we want to kind of follow the logic that was utilized within the document regarding CPI risers, which I'm not sure is a perfect fit for this because, well, I just don't necessarily think that the authority tracks the CPI, but either one of those, I just, a lower amount whereby you're not like creating a situation where you have spend that's occurring that is, exceeds essentially our comfort level with our budget. So typically, I think the spending authority limits are the idea behind them. The way I always view them is it's meant to facilitate business operations. And so that, for things that would typically be approved, that don't always garner a lot of, consternation, or they're easy decisions, then you smooth the administrative process by giving, an authority limit, so that by which, you don't have tiny things and whatnot coming through. If we're talking about spend of up to 60,000 for professional services engagements, to me, that doesn't meet that criteria. So that's why I'm focusing on those. I do understand that, public work stuff or repair stuff, like when you talked about the pole and the camera and, the wood chips, whatever, those things always tend to, the price of those is it's never as inexpensive as you would hope. And things could quickly exceed the 20,000. So to me, it seems to make sense to raise that limit so that you could just continue with the normal flow of operations of the city. I don't think that professional services or consulting spend falls into that same category. So,
because right now they're talking it's $10,000, right?
No, it's 20,000 under the existing policy, 33-ish thousand if you do take into account the general increase in prices since 2004. And it just to make sure, because Martin, I don't know Martin as well as I know Mala, but I know my city attorneys. And so when we get to that point, we had a motion and a second on the floor. So either a substitute motion or something to do with the motions before we get going too far.
Well, I would be interested in hearing another number, Jeff, if you could offer one. But I want to move this item forward. That's my bottom line. If there's another number that makes you more comfortable, I would consider modifying my motion. Thank you.
I would go with 30 for professional services and the rest unchanged.
So 60 for everything except for professional services at 30,000.
Yes, correct. That would be my recommendation. And I would, as a substitute motion, if you would like.
Yeah, and I would modify my motion if the seconder would do that as well.
Have we exceeded that $30,000 limit? For professional services consultants?
Yes, and those have come to the council because they exceeded 20,000 at the time that they were brought. So
I'm just asking if 30 was exceeded, was it?
Well, Meg and the ARPA consultants definitely exceeded. So, but that came before us. Like when we used the consultants for the goal setting, that did not. Right. And when we used the consultants for the employee matters, that did not.
So I've seen just judicious use of consultants, in my opinion. I've actually appreciated the use of consultants, especially with a new council and a new city manager. However, given that being on the table, Jim, if you're going to make a motion on that, I mean, I would amend.
I'm amending if that's acceptable to you as the seconder.
It would be acceptable to me at $30,000 as long as it seems reasonable to me. Maybe just splitting hairs, but I wouldn't want to. I don't want to tie Randa's. I don't want to tie Randa's hands. Because,
nor do I. And there's some things I just want to make sure get moving along here, and I would modify my motion.
So I think I heard a modified motion to do 60 for everything except 30 for professional services. I heard an agreement by the seconder of the original motion to modify the motions. Martin, did I get it right?
That's correct. If there was a second, then that would be the motion on the floor.
That's the motion on the floor. Okay.
So and we have a motion and a second on the floor. Could you call the roll, Janet, please?
Councilmember Diaz?
Yes.
Councilmember Juan?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman?
Yes.
Mayor Cloven?
Yes. Excellent. With that, item 9A is closed. We'll move on to item 9B, which is the adopt a resolution approving one-time essential worker premium pay for city employees and appropriating the American Rescue Plan Act funding for implementation. And we'll go back to you, Raina.
Thank you, and thank you for your support on the purchasing policy. The resolution will be amended to reflect the council's action with the final documents. So moving on to ARPA. So you have two ARPA items on your agenda this evening. The first is the report after your conversation on January 4th regarding potential one-time premium pay for essential workers, for city workers as essential workers. The discussion at the time of that meeting was to consider kind of working the numbers to see if we spent potentially up to about 10% of the city's overall allocation of 2.9 million, less administrative costs. What would that be? Obviously right around 270,000, and that if we looked at an amount equal to 10,000 per full-time employee prorated for our two part-time employees, would that fit within those dollar figures? The answer is yes, it does. There had been some conversation about when an employee would need to have been on the employed as a city employee. The recommendation before you this evening, in addition to being the 10,000 per prorated, et cetera, is the date. An employee, in order to be eligible, has to be an employee as of the date that the council is going to take this action. So as of today, so anybody who has left city service prior to today is not eligible because they are no longer a city employee. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that the recommendation before you says anybody who was an employee prior to January 1st, 2022. So essentially stating the beginning of this calendar year, anybody who starts after that, we would not be capturing in this program. It would be for anyone who is still here, but was here prior to January 1st of this year. And you have the numbers in your report as to what that is, and the criteria that are required for us to move forward with that to meet the council's discussion from January 4th. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
We'll open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions for Raina? Yes, Councilmember Diaz.
Not necessarily a question, but I do want to first of all go on the record that I totally support the intent of this use of those federal funds. And I underline federal because there's been a lot of discussion that has come to me, people thinking that it's coming out of the city budget, and that is not the case. I don't know how we can make it more clear. It is coming from the federal government that was granted to the city of Clayton. That's number one. Number two, I want to sincerely appreciate Sergeant Ania and as president of the POA for bringing this issue forward. Initially, the item came forward just to identify towards and target the police department, which I want to make a couple of comments. One, yes, we gave a new contract to the city police department. Number two, they have historically been the lowest paid entity, as most of our employees are in the entire county and probably for the region for that matter. And so again, this is a recognition for the hard work. They were there when we needed them the most. When every one of us were huddled in our homes, they were out there making sure things moved swiftly, safely, and professionally in the city. Just to give you kind of an example that people may have overlooked when we were doing the negotiation for the contract. One, they were being paid less. The police were being paid less than the people that dispatched them for services out of Concord, which we contract for, and also the county dispatchers. That I think is that is not a good way to operate. Other cities and counties have given a higher percentage-wise. Now, maybe what would cause some people to have a little pushback or a pause was the fact that it was $10,000. Now, I believe, quite frankly, that the police department deserves that entire amount. I'm having a little bit of reflection on, do we expand that to all employees that were, quote, essential? Because I know some of them were able to work from home. The police were not. They didn't have that choice. They had to be out there. So I want to just offer that as a consideration. Under our chief's leadership, we now enjoy a full force police department. All positions are filled. They may not all be on the street because there are certain state required training that they must go under the supervision of what's called a field training officer, or FTO. And you may have read in the paper, because this article on us has appeared at least 3 times that I've read. But most recently, the city of Walnut Creek was authorized by their city council to add 5 positions. And the chief of police went out and said, they'll be fortunate to get them on the payroll before the next holiday season in December. 5 people. Where are they going to get them from? Because every agency in this community and region are looking for good quality people. And I want to compliment our department. We are at full staff, which is something we haven't had for a while. So bottom line, I'm in favor of it, but I'm having some thoughts, second thoughts about expanding it to the entire city staff that were not. I guess I need to have a clearer understanding of what an essential employee was. Who was there when this COVID thing hit and they had to be in place doing their job? That's my only comment. But in general, I support the whole program. Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Wolf.
Okay, so I think I got to go back to agree. First, I agree with Jim, but the main thing is that the first part of it was these are federal funds. And so I have no pause with regard to our city employees. I know that we've been taken to task in the paper with regard to the amounts that we're looking at here. But in the reality, looking at these amounts, they're really quite small with regard to what we have left. And I like the way that this has been prorated for permanent part-time people. I think that it's a judicious program. And again, it is using federal funds. I said this in the last meeting. We don't get federal funds to take care of our people very often. And so I think it's important that we champion that. We've also made a concerted effort to get everything done very quickly for our businesses and for our town folk. And we'll be discussing this in the next round here as we discuss the rest of this. But I think in this first tranche, I think we have plenty of money to do what we need to do for all of our people. We do appreciate our police department. I don't think it takes anything away from our police department if we were to look at the entire staff as a whole. And I do appreciate the efforts the police department did and had to do while we were under the heaviest part of the pandemic, the early part of the pandemic, especially with no vaccines. But things are continuing now and people are still having to work. And so the bottom line is, for me, I have no pause on the program as a whole, the way it stands here. And yeah, that's my thought.
Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Any other comments?
Are we on comments or questions?
We're on questions. We haven't taken it out to public comment yet.
I should have put a question mark on the end of
it. At this point, then, with no other questions from council, we'll take it out to public comment. Janet, is there anybody who has a hand raised?
I guess you guys didn't see my question marks behind my comments. They were there, though.
Much appreciated.
Mayor, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
And with that, we will close public comment on item 9B and bring it back to City Council for comment. How about you, Jim? Jeff, Councilor 1?
Yeah, so it's not a question, but you know, we have so few opportunities to recognize the work that all of our city staff do. You know, I'm glad Sergeant Nia brought this up, but at the same time, you know, a rising tide raises all ships. And when we have such few opportunities to recognize, you know, our city employees for the work they do, especially when we don't, I mean, conceptually, we all pay for it with our tax dollars, but we don't pay for it directly with the city budget. And, you know, I don't know how many opportunities there are for things like this, but when these opportunities do present, I will race you to try and take advantage of them, because it's very important that we do so. So, you know, I just want to, you know, it's been a tough couple of years with turnover and staff, and I know that is incredibly difficult, not only for, it's difficult for all the people that left as well, but it's also for everyone who's remaining and all the new folks who come in. And so it's a tough road, but hopefully we're getting into a better place, and so that's great. And so I just, you know, want to express my appreciation to city staff for the work that they've done over the past, well, it seems like COVID's been here for like 100 years, so I don't know. But yeah, So anyways, I'm totally supportive. And I will reiterate, we are talking about in our next agenda item another matter related to ARPA as well. As much as I say that in my earlier comments, I continue to hold the position that our primary focus is on our local businesses and the residents of the city who have also been impacted. This does not take away from that, given our take rate. And so as we continue to look for ways to assist those two main groups within the town, this to me is next on the list, and we can take care of this very quickly and hopefully make an impact to those folks. And thank you very much for choosing to work in Clayton.
Jim Diaz will move approval on this item. And I also wanted to underscore before we get a second is that I have personally gone out to a number of our business community members, and I've asked them, why haven't you applied? So it's not like that we haven't extended the effort, and we moved it quickly, as Councilmember Wolf said. We had done it, so we got the money out to them before the end of the year. I move approval on this item.
I'll second it, but also wanted to make the comment that to me, it's important to recognize that, yes, we've been in this for almost a million years, it feels like, but for almost two. And if there were any employees that were working from home, it was short-lived. And so while I recognize that, officers don't have that latitude at all, they have to be out on the roads. I completely understand that and appreciate all of their hard work. And so what I'm hoping is that they're not feeling slighted in any way because their peers and coworkers are getting the same amount. I would hope that's not the case, and that everybody is appreciative of the fact that we're able to use these federal funds and give all of them the same amount, because all of their work is critical. City Hall is important. We have to have it fully functioning to have our city running, and all of them play an important role on every level of the floor of the building. So thank you all, and that's from the top to the bottom. I appreciate all of the work that you guys have done, and wish that we could do more for all of the levels, businesses, residents, workers, all of it. But our funding is limited because we're a tiny town. And I think that all of these articles that are coming out have to take that into consideration. I know that it seems like it's a large amount, and people are probably going to be upset about the number of contracts or grants we're going to be able to extend in the next item because of that. But I think it's really important that this is what has to happen now for this entity, and then we'll see what we can do for the others in this next item. So thanks. And if you didn't hear that at the beginning, I seconded it. So
I heard that. And I'll just make a comment that I really felt and appreciated Sergeant Nia's letter on behalf of the Police Officers Association. The letter itself talked about the idea of hero pay, or work for a pay for the essential workers. The number he threw out in the letter was $2,000. And we as a council unanimously felt that, wow, we can do better than that with the funds we have from the federal government. And we went up 5 times that original ask amount. So you are appreciated, all of you on staff. We can't operate as a city without you. And this is our opportunity to say thank you. And that is what we're doing. And with that, we have a first by Councilmember Diaz and a second by Holly Tillman. Yes, Raina, did you have a comment?
I just want to clarify that in the resolution, the requested appropriation amount does include all of our full-time and part-time permanent employees as of January 1st, and it continues to exclude the city manager. So I just don't want anybody to be surprised that that's what's in there. So that's what the appropriation amount is based on. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Any other comments from my fellow council members? With that, Janet, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Absolutely.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
yes.
Mayor Cloven.
Yes. With that, item number 9B is closed, and we'll move on to item number 9C. And we're going to talk about an update on the final American Rescue Plan Act rules and a recommending of the adoption of a resolution amending the criteria for Clayton Cares program. And with that, we'll move it back to you, Marina.
Thank you. second ARPA item for your consideration this evening. The first thing I wanted to touch on is that despite the fact that it's been almost a year since the ARPA was passed, we just, as of January 6th, I believe, got the final rules from U.S. Treasury on use of the funds. So they are generally in line with what we've been talking about under the interim final rule that we had received months and months ago. But there are a couple of specific differences. The most significant of which is related to how the category related to revenue loss is calculated. So you may remember that a number of times when we've talked about ARPA, we've talked about the fact that Treasury had identified a formula for determining revenue loss, and under their formula, Clayton did not have any qualifying revenue loss. That revenue loss category was the single most flexible use of the funds that could be used essentially for any governmental purpose. So we have not been talking about that. In the final rule, Treasury made a change to say that jurisdictions need to select one of two paths to choose how they're going to calculate potential revenue loss and thus this most flexible use of the ARPA funds. One is to use the formula that they had already identified. The second was to say that any jurisdiction could select up to $10 million or the total amount of their grant, whichever is less, as revenue loss. So our total grant is about little over 2.9 million. So we can't suddenly get 10 million, which is too bad because I'd be right there in line to get us $10 million if I thought we could, but we still can only get 2.9 million. But we will essentially select that we are choosing that mechanism for calculating it. What that means is that for any of our ARPA funds, we essentially have much greater flexibility in how we can use those funds on behalf of Clayton as a community, as an organization, et cetera. So this includes the potential to address a variety of unmet needs that exist, and we certainly have a long list of unmet needs in the city. They are, some of them are listed on the second page of the report in your packet this evening, including technology needs, deferred maintenance needs. There are some capital projects where we're short either a small amount of funding or some matching funding. There are just a variety of projects and programs where this additional funding could be quite significant in terms of leveraging our ability to move certain things forward. However, for this evening, my recommendation is that we have that conversation about this additional potential flexible use of the funds related primarily to the second tranche of funding and any funding left from the first tranche. And that will come up in the next couple of months. So I wanted to alert the council to the change in the rules. I wanted to begin everybody's thinking processes about unmet needs in the city and the opportunities that we might have. But consistent with the council's direction, and certainly Councilmember Juan said it again this evening, our primary focus has been on addressing community needs associated with the economic impacts of the pandemic, from households to businesses to our own employees. And so the recommendations this evening all relate to essentially the Clayton Cares program within that first tranche of funding, and makes no recommendation on any changes to the first tranche outside the essential worker pay and the Clayton Cares program as previously approved, with a few changes to the criteria that are in front of you this evening for consideration. So that was the kind of the first big update, or the major update in the rules that came from Treasury as of January 6th. The second piece I wanted to address are a series of recommendations on the Clayton Cares program some of which relate to changes in the rules, some of which just relate to our experience in the program that we've had so far since the December 1st launch. So there are 3 major recommendations in front of the council, or 4 really. The first is the Treasury rules presume that any household that is considered low or moderate income was negatively affected by the pandemic. And the definition in the original ARPA interim rule was that low and moderate household incomes were those below 50% of area median income. And so that's where we set our criteria for the household grants. In the final rule, Treasury expanded that definition to say that low and moderate income households presumed to be impacted by the economic impacts of the pandemic are up to 65% of area median income. And so the one recommendation in front of the council this evening is that we expand the eligibility for the household grant program from 50% of area median income to 65% of area median income. For example, this would mean that a household of 4 that had an income maximum of $68,500 under the existing or under the original rules could now earn up to $89,000 and still meet that low to moderate income household category. I think this allows us to reach still a very much affected group in our community and is consistent with the updated rule that Treasury has provided. So one would be to increase the eligibility threshold for the household program. The second piece would be to increase the grant amounts. When we set the initial grant amounts, or when the council set the initial grant amounts, they were set relatively conservatively to try to balance out not running out of money too quickly by providing what we were maybe thinking would be overly significant sized grants. So we've now had the program in place since December 1st. And what we've seen is we haven't had as big a run on the funds as we were hoping, but it also means that we can afford to increase the grant amounts and increase the assistance to those who have said or will continue to say that they are in need of that assistance. The original business grants were set at $5,000 each. The original household grants were set at $1,500 each. The recommendation before the council this evening is that those grant amounts be increased at this point to $10,000 for both the business and the household grants. You can see in the staff report the numbers of grants. We've had about 28 business grants and about 2 household grants. Increase those to 10,000. That number can obviously be scaled at any level. There's no magic to 10,000, either on the business side or on the household side. But it is consistent with the conversation that the council was having with respect to the essential worker pay, and is a starting point for a conversation about increasing those grant amounts. The third piece of the recommendation in front of you this evening would be that whatever increase in the grant amounts that the council ultimately decides on, that should be granted essentially automatically to any of the original grantees. So we don't make them apply again to say, oh, now I want to come back because you changed the grant amount, that we would have the authority to process the additional payments for those original grantees. Since we changed the criteria for the program. And then the fourth piece would be the initial deadlines for the grants were the end of January for the business grants, the end of February for the household grants. The recommendation would be to extend the grant deadlines through June 30th of 2022. So essentially the end of our fiscal year. That's about when we'll get our second tranche of funding. It just allows us as much time as possible. Ultimately, that deadline is, if not arbitrary, it is under the council's control within the guidelines of the program. And if the first tranche is exhausted before that, then the grant program would end before that. But this allows us essentially to keep the grant program in place while we're working through that first tranche of funding and discussing ultimately what that second tranche of funding is going to be used for. And any funding that's left in the first tranche can be put into the conversation about kind of what happens next. So those are the recommendations in front of the council this evening with respect to the updated ARPA rules and the Clayton Cares program. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Diaz.
Yeah, I have a question, Raina. Is there a way you could check to see that people who applied for the first round and didn't qualify would qualify for this round based upon the new numbers? And if so, how would we go about communicating to them that they are now eligible for a different amount and a different process?
So we do have contact information for every household and business that downloaded an application. Essentially, we didn't really get too many applications that didn't qualify. So we didn't say, you don't qualify. What ended up happening was a few people applied for both household and business. We went with the business grant because it was larger and we said you could only do one. So we do have contact information and we can reach back out to them to ensure that they get a review at whatever the new evaluation criteria is.
Well, my concern was the lady who addressed the city council at the last time. And she said she didn't qualify. And so, I don't know if that was her perception or when she looked at the numbers, she figured, why apply? Because I'm not going to qualify. And yet she might now, qualify. And I would sure encourage her to, come back into the process.
Yeah, we didn't, there wasn't anybody who applied who didn't meet the criteria. And so we will be working to do additional outreach, flyers, I don't know, stand on a street corner talking about it. Excuse me. And we will, we probably have an email address for her based on registration from the last council meeting. So we'll make sure that we reach out to her as well.
She's been quoted in the paper 3 times. So I'm sure she's well contactable, if that's such a word. But I would definitely encourage somebody like that, if they felt that they were not qualified the first round, hey, come back. We're ready to hear you again.
Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Wolf.
Raina, does the household projection of 24 new, does that include the 2 already that have been paid out, or is it 24 plus 2?
It's 24 plus 2. I mean, the 2 are already in, and then 24 brand new
possibilities that we've identified or projected
at $10,000 if we keep the split between business and household the same in terms of the relative amounts of money. There's quite a bit of flexibility into how the money is carved up, if you will, but that just kind of gives you a sense of, the numbers that we could fund under the higher grant amounts.
What is the second tranche figure that we're getting?
It's another 1.45 million.
Okay, great. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Tillman, you had your hand?
Yes. Raina, I know that we originally had, I think it was 400 families that fell under the less than 50% AMI. Is that correct? Do you know what that number jumps to when you raise it to the 65%?
Great question. Did not look that up, but I can find out.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious if it's only a handful more. And my main concern is, especially if we're going to, and I'm glad to hear you saying that we're going to go out and try to reach more residents to let them know about this program, with whether or not we're doing lit drops or however we're going to do it, mailers. I don't know what the plan is, but I like it because I think the more outreach that we can do for residents so that they know this is happening. Not everybody is tuning in to these meetings, right? We have a handful of people on here now. outside of us. And it's critical, I think, that everybody understands that this money is from the federal government, especially the ones who are most likely going to be able to reap the benefits of this. They're probably not tuning in to the city council meetings, and they're not aware of this, right? And so as much as we've tried to do the outreach and put it in newspapers or use social media, et cetera, I like the idea of putting something on their doorstep or door hangers, whatever we have to do. In the mailboxes, I think it might get thrown in the trash can, but something that gets their attention so that they see that this is available. And in saying that, my concern is that we're going to run out of money, which is good, because I really do hope that the 26 people actually take us up on, or the additional 24. And I'm hoping that more do. And so my only concern with having it be 10 grand is that we're going to run out quickly. Once I know the businesses will snap it up. I'm still not sure how come the take rate on that is so low as well. But my concern is with the household residents and them not being able to benefit from this when, yes, the businesses need it, but if they're living or falling underneath the 50 to 65% AMI, they really can use these funds. So I just want us to be mindful of that, the number of people that we can reach.
Thank you. Councilmember One, you have any thoughts on this? Questions?
I don't have any questions.
Awesome. With that, if there are no more questions, Councilmember Wolf.
Sorry, can we use any of the money for marketing?
Yes, I mean, we can, as a programmatic expense, we can use a small portion of the funds for that. And so, you know, we'll probably have some printing costs, but nothing.
Yeah, not outrageous, but it's okay for us to use it. Great.
I mean, it costs what, $4,000 to mail something to every single household in the city.
And I think you said it last time. You get a mailer that says,
well, you can do the
money.
You can do the postcard rate. I think the postcard rate is a little, the bulk rate postcard's a little cheaper.
And in big red letters, free money.
Well, no, because then you sound like you're a scam.
Yeah.
All right.
Those go straight in the garbage, man.
If there are no more questions, we'll open up to public comment. And Janet, let me know if there's any hands.
I do have a couple of hands raised. The first hand is D. D, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. D, greetings. Welcome.
Greetings. Happy New Year. Where could I tell, like if I was just to use this as word of mouth to some people, where can I tell them to go to apply? Do I just say go down to the city? Is there an application online? Is it on social media? All of the above? Maybe you can just kind of repeat that effort so it's recorded and other people could hear it if they come back and review this meeting.
I would be delighted. On the main city webpage, claytonca.gov, there is a button that says Clayton Cares, and their application and all the materials are under that button. You can have them call the city at 925-673-7300. Hope I got that right. I believe that's the correct number. Eventually they'll be able to come down to City Hall and come in and see us. But right at the moment, we would recommend that you either check the website or call. We can certainly mail out an application if we need to mail out an application or walk someone through the process. Those are the best mechanisms for it, and we'll be, once we have new updated information, we'll be putting it back out on social media as well. But the city's website will be by far the easiest and fastest.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Janet, anybody else?
Our next speaker is Pat. Pat, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome, Pat.
Hi. Nice to be here. Nice to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pat Pinnell. I've got that new little business across from Skip's, Chick Boss. And the reason I wanted to come to this meeting, I did not actually read your agenda before attending, but I was hoping for the opportunity to say thank you for helping my business. And it came right at the right time, and I'm wonderful. I'm just very grateful. And as I'm sitting here and realizing there might be even more good news for me personally, I'm feeling that I'm really proud to be part of Clayton, to hear how you are looking for people who can qualify for these funds and how you're going to be helping people who work for the city and our police officers. Yes, I realize this is federal funding, but I really love hearing this conversation and knowing that you're looking out for the least among us and those who can help grow and build this city. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Pat. Really appreciate the comments. Any other hands, Janet?
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
And with that, we will close public comment on this item 9C and bring it back to City Council for comments.
Jim Diaz, move approval.
That's too fast, dude. All right, that's fine.
There's always discussion, Jeff. That's part of the process. And usually you can discuss it after the motion and second have been made according to Robert's Rules of Order.
That's true. I will second and continue to cross my fingers that we can give away all the free money.
All right. First by Councilmember Diaz, and second by Councilmember Juan. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to circle back on the whole lit drop and how we're going to go about making sure that all of the residents are aware of the program. Can we talk about that a little bit? I know you said that there was funding, Raina, for marketing and that we can use some of the funds for that. Is the plan for this to be mailed out? Do we need to solicit volunteers to go drop this off? What are you thinking?
So my recommendation would not be to mail. A couple of reasons. One, it is relatively expensive, and my experience over many years in local government is that people tell me, "Oh, you sent me a thing in the mail? Yeah, I just threw that away." I at least hope they recycle it. This is like the only thing I can hope for, is at least they put it in the recycling and not directly in the trash. But beyond that, that has not seemed to be very effective. If there's a way for, I don't know if it's the Boy Scout troop or the schools or other volunteers to just drop on porches, not into people's mailboxes, because you can't put non-mail items into mailboxes, and not to, be disruptive to people's homes. But that would be, I think, by far one of the better mechanisms for us. And I know, we have a number of items that we need to do outreach on that might benefit from that. But I think, this would certainly benefit from that. And we did do some direct flyer drops for the businesses in the first round, but I think we can do more.
Okay.
What are they saying to you when you ask them, Jim, why are you not taking the free money? I'm curious what the common thread is in the response.
Well, from the business people,
yeah.
Although they didn't say it outright, I know they got more money directly from either the state of California or the federal government. Some of them got, grants, in excess of $25,000. And they're saying, well, why are you offering me $5,000 when I just got $25,000? Or, I mean, that's my take on it. But they just did not. I can't figure it. I look at them. I'm saying, all you got to do is apply for it. That's all you got to do. It's incredible.
All right.
With that, we have a first by Councilmember Diaz and a second by Councilmember One on this resolution as is written. There's no other discussion. Janet, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Yes.
Mayor Cloven.
Absolutely yes. With that, item 9C is closed. We move on to item 9D, which is the first amendment to the city manager's employment agreement with Raina Schwartz. And at the last council meeting, Vice Mayor Tillman and I were requested to have a conversation with our city manager to talk about an increase as approved by the city council. After conversation, we agreed to an increase, which was essentially 3% for this year, and plus an additional $400 in deferred compensation. And that has been put together in this agreement, and it's being presented as such. Is there anything else I need to say, Raina, or make this official? The salary for the first amendment now brings her to $21,450 with a monthly contribution of $800 towards paid directly into a deferred compensation plan.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. That covers the changes that are included in the proposed amendment to my agreement. And I would just say thank you very much to the Council for your support and collaboration over my first year. I look forward to a brighter 2022, at least in the outside world, and continued success internally as we move things forward. So unless our city attorney for this evening has anything that needs to be added to that, I believe you've met the requirements to have a publicly noticed item not on the consent calendar verbal presentation.
That's right. Nothing further to add. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there a vote or was we've already authorized? Okay, then with that, I will attain a motion to pass the resolution approving this first amendment.
We need to public comment on it?
Public comment. I beg your pardon. Thank you very much. Is there any public comments on this item out there, Janet? I will open that up.
Cloven, there are no hands raised on this item.
Thank you. And with that, public comment is closed, and we'll bring it back to the council, and I would entertain a motion accordingly.
Move to approve as written.
I'll second.
First by Councilmember Wolf, second by Vice Mayor Tillman. And with that, Janet, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Yes.
Mayor Cloven.
Yes. With that, item 9D is closed. We move on to item 9E, which is a resolution of the City Council and the City of Clayton adopting the City of Clayton's salary schedule effective December 27th, 2021 in conformance with the CalPERS requirements to provide a publicly available salary schedule. And we'll bring that back to you, City Manager.
Thank you. This is really just a follow-up to the prior item. With the amendment to the agreement, there is a new salary range for the city manager position because we need to have a single adopted salary schedule that has all of our information in one place. That salary schedule is included in your packet and the resolution, and I request that we have council approval of that so that we can get that posted and be in compliance with the CalPERS requirements.
Any questions from council? With no questions from council, we'll open it up to public comment.
Mayor Cloven, I do not have any hands raised on this item.
Awesome. With that, we'll close public comment, bring it back to council, and I will accept a
Move approval.
Second, Jim Diaz.
All right, we got a first by Councilmember Juan, a second by Councilmember Diaz. Janet, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Juan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tillman,
Aye.
Mayor Cloven.
Yes. And with that, item 19 is closed and we're done with action items. We'll move on to item 10, which is a closed session. There are none tonight. Moving on to item number 11, council items to be considered for future meetings. I'll open it up for discussion. I wanted to quickly first bring on our next council meeting, which is, I believe, on February 1st. That is the night before the February 2nd BART meeting. I believe they have a meeting on February 2nd. I would like to have a discussion regarding the redistricting BART proposal and whether or not we want to make a statement as a city at that meeting about our position on that. So that's my request. Any other requests for future items? Councilmember Wolf.
Yeah, I had a citizen reach out with regard to the landslide area that continues to happen near the school and what we were going to do about it, especially when it comes to some kind of permanent barrier going on to Clayton Road and down toward the entrance of the city. And so I don't know if this is really a council decision or not, but I want to bring it up so that we could discuss what possibilities there are for that ongoing landslide area during those big rainstorms. So we don't have to block it off with a rope and a chain. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you. Any other items? With that, item number 11 is closed and we'll move to adjournment at.
Yeah, before you do that, I failed to mention at my report, I wanted to compliment PG&E and their outreach. We had another power failure up here in our area. And again, for probably the third or fourth time, some speeder has come down Kirker Pass and taken out the power pole on Kirker Pass before it gets down to Clayton Road. But they were on top of it. And I don't know if anybody saw that, but there were at least a half a dozen PG&E vehicles, and they replaced that pole, the power. Their initial estimate was until noon. It happened at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. They did it in less than an hour. And their information system, I don't know if people have signed up for it, but it's a automated reporting system to residents. And where we originally started off with about 1,500 customers, it went up to as high as 3,000, and they had the problem fixed. And then they had a final report saying car versus pole. And I thought, great. But then I think our friends in a neighboring community ought to be slowing those people down coming off of Kirker Pass down into Concord. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, I just have one thing I need to add before our next meeting. I learned just within the last couple of nights that reminder that our librarian, Karen, will be retiring. And her last day, I believe, is the end of January. I have to go dig for the email. I believe it might be January 29th, somewhere between the 29th and 31st. So if you get a chance to stop by, if you know Karen, to wish her the best of luck in her retirement, please do stop by the library and let her know that.
Thank you very much. And with that, at 8:53 p.m., this meeting is adjourned until next time. Be well, be safe. Take care.
Go Niners. Go Niners.